everybody. Okay, knowing that our technology is now hooked up and all the people who are going to be here, at least on the board and our clerk are here. So we're official. Call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call roll, please.
Commissioner Jarvis. Here. Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Commissioner Bender.
Here.
Commissioner
Present. With that, we have our tradition of saying a prayer, which I'll do, and then would ask Commissioner Jarvis to lead us in the pledge.
Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather together as free people to consider the business of Lapeer County, to make the best decisions that we can. Help us to use the wisdom that you grant to us in ways that are beneficial to the people of this county. We ask your special blessing upon the people of this county as they go through their normal lives, their many challenges. We ask your blessing upon our staff and their families as they serve. We think of you especially as the summer comes to an end. There are so many things that we were able to do, so many things we have yet to do. Thank you for the blessings that we have, the ones that we take for granted so often. Help us and guide us. Thank you for the leadership that we have throughout the county, throughout the state, and throughout the nation. Help them to do their very best as well. We ask this in thy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should note early on, board may or may not be aware of passing of Commissioner Doris Rowland. Doris served a while back on the board. And I can't remember if prior to that, did we indicate publicly also the passing of another commissioner, Ron Dalton, several weeks ago. So several of the people who served on this board have left us. We do remember them in their service.
Doris for Roland also looked after it, and she's also been part of the community in other ways besides just the commissioner. Roland Warner School, that's her name that's on that group. So they've done a lot for the community.
Yeah, if you read her obituary, you could probably write one that's about 3 times that long and not hit everything. She was a very remarkable woman. Let's see, agenda items. There's one that I want to add. We'll make that number, I guess number 5. There's 5 and 2 budgeted things after that.
I'm doing 14, just make it 14.
Okay, we can do that.
And what is that for?
That will be school to careers program. Cheryl Clark is with us from time and we'll introduce that briefly. And we'll move that topic on. Any other changes or additions?
Make a motion to move with that addition.
Support. Further discussion? Seeing that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, we now have minutes that we need to approve.
Motion to move. Make motion to move.
Support. Any discussion, changes, corrections? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And we have a number of folders passing here for the board to look at. It looks like the board has them. On to time for our county staff. Any county staff that are here that want to make a report? See Jeff Sabowski, who perhaps needs no introduction, but I should note that he's been a very busy person this last week, and I think that's what he's going to be talking about.
Indeed, thank you, good morning. So the hat I got on at the moment is going to be emergency management. I want to give everybody an update on what's been going on. I'm sure you've been seeing the news and the stuff I've been putting out, but I also want to give you a personal update and answer any questions based on the information I have at the time. So as you know, there was a water main break over in St. Clair County. It's a 120-inch main. It's literally the biggest one that GLWA, Great Lakes Water Authority, has. It's 10 feet wide. You can literally drive a car through it, and it broke out. They don't know the exact cause of why it broke out, but it's around 50 years old, so I think we can figure out what happened there. That's my estimation on it. Initially, they ordered the only piece of pipe available in the entire country, which was 20 feet long. And then once they got all the water out of the damaged site, they found out they needed 32 feet. So they immediately ordered some more to be produced, and that was done right away. And it'll be here, I believe, early next week. So that extended the boil water and the time to restoration by at least 4 days, the last I heard from them. So that's where that status is right now. Once they get the repair in and get all that done and they get it all sealed up, then they gotta go through the decontamination phase of clearing it all out, getting everything done and sanitized and flushing the systems and everything else and checking pressures, doing all that sort of stuff. And then at that point, once they're comfortable with it, the state Eagle department will also verify all that as well, and then they can lift that boil water advisory and call it complete. That's where they're at that stage. In the short term, right now, we're distributing water in Elmont and Emily City. Working directly with the state EOC as part of the command structure there. So I'm bringing in the resources, working with the city manager and village manager down there to get them the water that they need. We started distribution yesterday at the Emily City Fairgrounds. Big thank you to them and Ian Kemp for that, allowing that to work. Police department provided security, and also the sheriff's office was there as well, helping out, so that was great. Down in Elmont, they did it at the village offices. The police department was also there. And also the GLWA, when they brought the water trucks in Emily City, they brought their own security as well. So they had armed security for themselves, plus they provided them. Really wasn't needed, but like you say. It was also nice to see Councilman James Alec down in Elmont Village also assisting, and Commissioner Ted Staller was assisting up in Emily City. That was awesome to see. Great turnout from the representatives of both places, police and fire departments down there as well, helping out. And a big thank you to the road commissions that shown over there. Without them, we wouldn't be able to get a lot of these resources up into the county because we have to travel down to Oakland County and Pontiac to get it. That's the main distribution point the state's bringing us stuff in. We did send a truck out to the DPWs of Elmont and Emily City, sent a truck over to St. Clair the other day to bring in some pallets as well. We did have a donation we're picking up in Marlette today, and we'll be picking up 10 more pallets down in Oakland as well today. So we have plenty on hand to get us through today and tomorrow, and we've already got orders in the pipeline to bring more resources in about every other day at this point through the state, and that's what's going on there. We did get the state received donation supply from the state of Indiana. They had some left over from some type of emergency they had as well that they sent them to us as well. AbsoPure is the one that's got the big contract with the state, and they're the ones bringing in most of the water, and we're getting donations. The state's getting donations from several other places as well. The other thing we're working on is the schools in Elmont and Emily City. So they start up next week, so we're already planning on what needs they're going to have, and I'm reporting all that back up to the state so we can get those resources in as well. I've got the numbers for students and staff at both school systems. And so we're going to calculate those numbers here very quickly. Today's distribution in Emily City is going to be at the fairgrounds from 1800 to 2000 tonight. And then in Elmont, it's again 10 a.m. to noon today, and 1700 to 1900 tonight. And then that's what we got planned out for today. I'm waiting to hear back what they're going to do tomorrow and the following day. So that's their decision on when and how they distribute. It's my job to make sure they have the resources they need in order to do that. One thing they started talking about yesterday was all the communities are looking at the possibility and evaluating the possibility of coming off of boil water before the restoration and repair is done. It's very preliminary. They have to look at pressures, sanitization standards, and work with Eagle and GLWA on that before they are comfortable enough and meet the standards and have stability in that in order to come up with boil water. Very early yet. They're still looking at it. There's no promises. There's no anything that's saying it's going to happen yet, but we're looking at it. Hopefully, if everything comes across as it's supposed to be and it's safe, then it will lift that boil water potentially early. Can't say when, can't say it's a certain thing, but it's definitely something everybody's looking at. Over the last few days, pressures in the system because they turned on backup systems and brought water in from other areas. Pressures have remained fairly stable. They're not necessarily at what's normal, if you will, but they're above the threshold for the most part, and that's what they're watching is one of the things. Because I'm getting a crash course on water myself, so one thing I learned is when the pressure varies too much one way or another way, it has the potential to introduce bacteria into the system or other contaminants just because of how that flow moves in the system, especially when they reverse water flows, which they had to do. So that's why they're keeping an eye on it. Alma, Inlet City, and Lapeer City are all taking samples and doing all of the normal stuff that they're supposed to do, and they're going above and beyond to make sure that their water is going to be safe. That's where they're at there. So I also mentioned Lapeer City. They are not under a boil water advisory, although they are affected by this. They have their backup wells running just like Inlet City and Alma, but they also have additional connections to other water systems that has their pressure up to basically what's normal for them. And they have all the treatment stuff they need as well. So all of their samples are coming back good. That's why they are not under the boil water at this time, but they are monitoring very closely, just like Alma and Inlet City. Round the clock, 24 hours a day, they're keeping their eyes on it. I am also in daily contact with the city manager and DPW director of Lapeer City. They're keeping me informed of what's going on. I'm keeping them updated on what's going on from my end. And we're working on a plan that in the event that the city of Lapeer has to go onto a boil water for any reason, we're already working on the plan of what the city's needs are going to be for distribution, not only for the residents and all the people that serve by their water system, because I think there's some in Lapeer Township and Mayfield Township that get Lapeer City water as well, and the Lapeer Community Schools. So I want to have a plan in place, ready to go at a moment's notice if there becomes a problem. And I'm going to communicate that up to the state EOC as well, so that way we can start bringing resources in immediately if we get to that point. I hope we don't, but we want to have a plan ready to go. We don't want to be behind the eight ball on that for the city of Lapeer, because they're obviously the largest community in our county. Any questions?
A couple of statements. One, a lot of people misunderstand. This does not concern your well water. That doesn't get affected by it. A lot of people thought the same thing when Flint had the same thing, that our well waters were affected. It isn't. This is not affecting Lapeer City right now. It's just in case they're finding that. It's on the east side, so everybody's aware of that. But I want to make one more statement. Jeff and I are both military people, and those of the military understand the time that you just gave us. But for those who don't understand military time, can you re-put that in time for them? Because people can't even look at the clock right now without looking at it.
Sorry, that was my Marine coming out. Yes, Emily City Fairgrounds tonight, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Almont today from 10 a.m. to noon, and then 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. tonight.
One question that came up to me was, in this boil water emergency, what can people use that water for at this point? What shouldn't they use?
So if the water coming out of your tap, you should boil it at least for a minute and let it cool back down before you cook or consume it. Okay? You do not need to boil it if you just want to shower or anything like that. You can wash your dishes with it, that's fine as well. That also brings up a good point. The health department is also involved in this, and they're up to speed on everything we're doing, and we're talking, Kathy and I are talking as well, some of her staff, so they're informed and they know what's going on as well. But your point there, if you're gonna cook or consume, make sure you boil it for at least a minute, and then let it cool back down. Burn yourself, obviously. Other uses, you can wash your dishes.
Yeah, washing your hands, taking
hands,
showers, stuff like that.
You're fine with that. There's no trouble there at all. And GLWA and the state and myself are also asking all residents in the affected communities across the system here, make sure you conserve your water so that way the pressure stays stable. Don't use water unnecessarily. You don't have to wash your car, don't water your garden, that type of stuff there. We want to make sure we have enough water and pressure in the system so we can live. You know, we don't want to use the water for things we don't necessarily have to, you know what I'm saying?
So I've been in contact with Jeff the last several days. I was at both Emily City's meeting and Almont Village's meeting. Let me tell you, if you want to talk about a true professional, Almont could not say enough good of what Jeff has done. Absolutely just thrilled to death with his job performance. Again, I think in Lapeer County, we're so fortunate to have some really super qualified individuals to help us through these situations. And I've already told Jeff this yesterday when he stopped at my business and gave me an update. But I wanted everybody else to hear this. There was, I think, some concerns from this board originally on having Jeff fill that position as emergency management director, and I definitely think that they made the right call there. So, thank you for what you do, and keep me informed, and good luck.
Thank you, I appreciate the kind words. I can't take all the credit for sure. I mean, our partners at Almont Village, Emily City, Lapeer City, this board, allowing us to have the tools and resources we need to get the job done. That's where the real credit goes to, and especially the Lapeer County Road Commission. I can't say enough about Zeb and the Road Commission. They're ready to go at a moment's notice. I called Zeb or give him a text message real fast and say, hey, we got water, can we go? And he's like, yep, we're going. You know, in the evening, we were there at 8 o'clock at night the other day unloading. They're awesome. I can't say enough about the Road Commission. Without them, it'd be really, really hard, because Almont and Emily City, they have trucks and fork trucks, but not as big and fast as the Road Commission is. So that's a huge help. You know, like Rick said, our military background, the Marine Corps prepared me very well to make me the leader that I am today. So I do appreciate the kind words from you and Emily and Almont as well. And I continue to work. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our citizens, because that's how we get job here, to take care of people. You know, we can't always control what happens to us, right? But we can control how we react to those things. And so that's what as leaders we're supposed to do, is react well, to do right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I would add also, I'm hearing good words about how you handled this. For those people who may not know, this is really your first big challenge in that new role. So.
From the emergency management side, yes. Yeah. As everybody knows, I've got over 20 years in 911 and worked hand in hand with Mary for years, so I was prepared very well for that. In addition to this, we also did a disaster exercise active shooter drill yesterday at Lapeer Hospital. It was more their thing. But I did stop in at the hospital just to check on that exercise that was going on as well. I had two of my dispatchers, now put my 911 hat on. My two newest dispatchers were there as observers, and I think they may have been participants a little bit as well in that drill. My understanding after I talked to the city police is it went fairly well, and they are planning another one down the road over at McLaren, just to make sure those things are well. And yesterday when the thunderstorm blew through and knocked power out at my office again, and generator came on like it's supposed to, so that dual generator UPS system you guys allowed me to put in has been phenomenal. Without it, we would have lost power a couple of times over this past year because we didn't have a failure on one side, the other side picked right up, and that's why I wanted that, because we never lost power. And for some reason, my generator never turned off last night, so it ran all night. And I came in this morning, I'm like, my generator's still running? Yep. So I called OSCR electricians, they're working on it right now. So I'm like, we have commercial power, the generator should be off. Getting that fixed.
I mentioned some questions we had initially about you're taking a role on. I think one of the major questions was, is it manageable with the two jobs? Now that you've gone through one of these, any reflections on that?
Well, we're not out of the woods yet. We still got another week and a half to 2 weeks through this one, but as of this moment, I feel I'm able to manage both well. Sounds like I'm doing a good job, so don't have any concerns at this moment. Things are going very well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your leadership.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I got more calls to do now. Thank you.
Any other county departments that wish to report? Okay, see none. We'll move on to public time. Any members of the public have 3 minutes to give their views.
Good morning, Alan Pierce, Hadley Township. Agents from the United States government last month stopped, detained, barred entry to the United States 10 terrorism suspects at the southern border. That's in July only, 10 that they caught. Border Patrol agents caught 10 more terrorism suspects at the U.S.-Mexico boundary in July, according to new numbers released by Homeland Security on Monday. Along with another passionate area that the county sheriff has been talking about, fentanyl seizures at the southern border also hit an all-time high, suggesting the overall flow of the deadly drug is skyrocketing. Customs and Border Protection reported catching 2,072 pounds of fentanyl at the border in July. That's up 640 pounds from June. And it totally obliterated the previous record set in April of 1,281 pounds of seizure. Officials believe that seizures are a yardstick of overall flow. So the more seized, this is government officials telling us, the more is likely getting through. Illegal immigration at the southern border, as measured by arrests and encounters, did dip for a second straight month with just fewer than 200,000 people that crossed the border illegally and were caught by the agents. The terrorism numbers also remained worryingly high. Agents at the southern border now have apprehended a total of 66 people listed on the database so far this fiscal year, which dates back to 1 October. A month ago, that figure stood at just 56, showing that 10 more were caught in July alone. By contrast, in all of 2021, just 15 people listed in the terrorism database were caught. And in the 4 years before that, 11 total people on the list were caught at the southern border. The trafficking is heavily concentrated in California and Arizona. That's the highlights of a 3-page article put out in the Washington Times yesterday for anybody's viewing pleasure.
Good morning. A grandma of children in the Lapeer district contacted me this week, and she actually had a little free library in her yard at one time. Anyway, she's very concerned about these free libraries because if you look up on the website, it looks like some of these free libraries are now offering some of the books that parents are complaining about in schools that contain pornography and other things. So free libraries have gone woke. You might want to look that up. There is a move to freeze the deletion of the election materials. It's going on across the state, and I am asking you, I know it is within this next month, maybe not within this next month, but September, where it is now, clerks can delete the election material from 2020. I'm asking this board to ask that not be deleted. There are a lot of things going on that are still being investigated, and I'm asking you to ask her. And we were finding out that, well, we can't ask the county clerk, we can't, and it's bringing it right down to the township clerk. We'll do that. Also, I found out from a friend that Teresa Spencer's doing a training, before the November 8th election. I'm already trained, so I don't have, but they didn't know that. So they sent the information, and there will be a training, mid-September after the state finalizes the general election ballot. And I would encourage all the commissioners, the current commissioners, and the newly elected commissioners, I'd encourage them to take that class so that they can really find out what goes on with the elections. And our township this last week, this morning as we go out to do our farm tours, we again hear the destruction of trees and the displacement of wildlife next door, as the special land use of a development to temporarily house people is constructed. I call it a club. I call it a club, and we ain't members. No worries though, and what does that even mean? When someone says no worries, that means to me that because I choose to not cooperate with what they want, they say no worries to make me feel guilty because they now might have to carry their own load. We are told no worries, it is just birthing pain, and the end result will be a beautiful creation. But at what cost? A neighborhood on edge because of so much disruption and anxiety of who is now occupying in our once quiet agricultural zone. None of us are able to see the unmarked entrance that will have no welcoming signs, only an address number. No sign, get away, nothing. I know you won't believe this, but in 3rd grade I was sent to the principal's office for having an opinion and not letting it go. Now if you show up at a meeting where decisions are made that you are highly dissatisfied with, never use the A word. Those making the decisions can't send you to the principal's office. They will use other means to intimidate you. They will make sure the principal comes to the meeting. What is this county? What has this county, let alone the world, come to? Those who want, take from those who have. But no worries. Times are changing. And I haven't gotten bitter. I've only gotten better.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay, seeing none, then we'll go to our agenda. Administration and Finance has a request on our packet. Do we have a motion? Support? Any discussion? See none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, under 4, CNH request for 3rd and final appropriation transfer. Very standard request. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Next topic, community collaborative request for budget amendment.
Motion moved.
The motion. Any support? Support. And I think this is perhaps reference to purchasing something.
I'm not sure, I'm sorry, Kyle, but he's not increasing his budget, he's just
Right.
moving from
Just
line to
moving
line.
it.
Yeah.
It may reference a computer that's needed for operation there.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Okay, so any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay, and then we've added school to careers. Kind and as an introduction, I'd ask Cheryl Clark, the director of Kind, to give us a short overview of what this is about. Then we'll move that topic on to next week for more discussion and action.
Thank you. I do apologize. I sent it in 2 weeks ago. I just thought I'd be on the agenda. Apparently equipment and I had some miscommunication. And so it's, you don't have a packet of information, but, you will have one in your full board if you, so we will move this to full board for, authority to act or, try to do that, but, as you know, we have a high school program and a junior high program called Schools to Careers, where we go into the high schools 5 hours a week and the junior high 5 hours a week to try and keep kids in school and to help them feel like they're connected to the school, to help them stay in school. The reason this is so important is that these kids drop out, and what I found out through working with Citizens Probation Council, a lot of the kids that came in that dropped out of school, they were straight A students. They were getting good grades, but they dropped out. They didn't feel like they were connected. And so the first thing you do when you drop out of school and you're, 18, you go to DHS. And so we're trying to keep them in school and out of DHS and off the welfare rolls and out of probate court. That's our whole goal with most of our programs, is to keep them out of probate court, but we've also added DHS because once they get into that system, it's hard for them to get out, especially when you get free housing. Well, if I go to work, I'm going to lose that. The mentality is wrong. I know that, but that's what happens. So, so we've had this program for about 8 years, I think, totally. And we're in Emily City, and Lapeer, all of the middle schools there, and Emily City and Lapeer high schools. And it's been a tremendous program, works out very well. You'll see in the packet, we've got several letters from the school staff telling what it means for them to have us in their buildings and working with their staff. We've helped kids graduate that the school staff thought will never graduate. They don't have enough credits, and we work for them to get them back on track and get them to graduate. Our record is excellent. We served about 60 kids in Zimmer, about 50 kids in Roland Warner. In the high schools, we served about 50 to 60 kids in both of those too. So Alma is a little bit, it's more concentrated, so we're about 20 middle school kids. And then Emily City Middle School, we did more than just the classes. We didn't work as much there. Just because they have a new counselor that is difficult to work with. But overall, you get a lot of bang for your buck. It's really helping to keep these kids in school and helping them graduate. So you'll have the full packet next week. And if you have any questions.
This is looking to increase again. Didn't we just do this not too long ago with you for that same?
A year ago.
You're looking to renew for another year?
For the next year. And that's why I asked Al to put me on the agenda and move it to next week, because I need to tell the schools if the county's going to help or not, because then they'll know if they can afford to do the whole program themselves or not. We did talk to you about a mentoring program where we're more intense, 4 hours, like for the first month, we'll go in and work with the families and the students, and then 3, 2, 1. Lapeer schools, Elmont School, and City schools are interested in that. They want some more information. And the MESS program, manners, etiquette, and social skills, they're interested in that too. So we're working with that. So they are going to be funding some of these other programs too.
And the kids you said that had help, is that last year or over time you've been doing?
Oh, that's just last year.
Okay.
No, we served a lot of kids. So even during the pandemic, they had to have face contact with them. And I can't remember if it was once a week or twice a week. We were able to help them do that. The schools are constantly calling us, like they had a family in Emily City, they didn't have any water. And what could we do to help them? So we actually were able to help them. So the things schools can't do, we can do. And the other thing is kids trust us because we're not part of the school. And so that's why they tell us that their brother's raising them. They tell us all these things that are going on in their life because we get their trust. And so it's been a very good program.
And not too long ago, we talked about this ARPA money. I mentioned you go to the schools, but they got a lot of money. I know they didn't get their millage, but they had Might any of that can be used for kind, did you find that, any of that information for us?
Yeah, they will be using that for the mentoring program and the MESS program and for the balance of this program.
Other questions at this point?
So in this packet that you created, we have some performance data in that.
Yes, yes. Both of the caseworkers that worked there did a summary, and that will be in the packet. Let's see, Emily City, they had 7 students at Emily City High School and 26 at Venture that we worked with last year, and 19 students at the high school and 39 students at the Center for Innovation. And she's got 20 students at Roland Warner, it was 60 students, and 30 at Zimmer, and I think that was 50, and 10 at Elmhurst. The one thing that really helped us out this year, and those numbers aren't in there, is that we had 5 interns, and so we put them into the middle school and the high school, and so they served kids, but there was no cost to anybody for that, so that would drop their numbers on that.
And this packet is, that we have here in county, we just didn't bring down this basic agenda, or
Right,
what is this packet?
I gave it to Doreen gave it to Quentin. Quentin thought it was gonna go on the September 1st committee, the whole, I'm not sure,
We'll
so-
search out, at least we know it's here, I thought.
Yep, so and all the letters from the schools are in there, the numbers.
Any further discussion?
I make the motion to move into the next meeting with the authority to act.
Moving this agenda topic to the next meeting. Okay, we have a second? Several? Okay. Further discussion? See none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay,
Thank
thank you, I
you.
really appreciate it.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Okay, that's all I have under 4, budget update.
Now, we're moving
Jackie,
along, we're moving along.
Okay.
We're getting the compensation and classification study in.
So we,
We've done complete by the end of this month is what they promised. So once I get.
will that complicate or simplify our budget process?
It's extending the budget process.
So this may go longer than normal.
Yes,
Budget hearings, are we still looking at the dates that we set in September as the likely hearing dates?
yes.
And that would be the week of the,
I didn't bring the calendar with me. Neither one of us brought the calendar down,
so it'd be the week of the 12th, so September.
okay.
We believe in that.
Well, we'll see. This could be subject to change depending. We also may have some challenges fielding enough board at different points here. So
Yes,
we're hopeful that we'll have enough healthy people to make this through. Okay. Anything else from administration we need to cover?
nope.
Okay. If not, then we'll go back to public time. Anybody from the public that wants to make comment or additional comment?
Trying to keep it at 3 minutes, they split it. Last week, the CDC made its grandiose announcement. The CDC changed its COVID recommendations last week, effectively admitting they are wrong about the shots, as there is no need for them. They have always been wrong. Tens of thousands of Americans lost their jobs because the CDC, the FDA, Anthony Fauci, and Joe Biden were wrong. The shot pushers in Washington, D.C. and around the country have been threatening people to get the jab, insisting that those who refuse to take them were a danger to society and must be isolated. Multiple times, Joe Biden stated that employees who refuse the jab should be fired. Public and private companies around the nation began to unlawfully fire religious adherents who refused to take abortion-linked COVID experimental drugs. Now faced with mountains of undeniable scientific data, Joe Biden's CDC is admitting that there should be no difference in treatment between vaccinated and unvaccinated. Among other things, the CDC now says, regardless of vaccination status, quarantines are unnecessary. 6-foot social distancing is unnecessary. Daily testing for those exposed to virus is unnecessary. Students and employees exposed to the virus but without symptoms may stay in class or at work. Masking is only recommended for the exposed and those who test positive for the virus. Those with COVID symptoms should stay at home for 5 days and/or until they are fever-free for 24 hours. Admittedly speaking, those guidelines are remarkably similar to guidelines for the flu, which is what a lot of people have said since day one. And in making the same recommendations for the vaccinated and unvaccinated, the CDC is effectively admitting that the shots are unnecessary. Thousands upon thousands of Americans, including U.S. military members, lost their jobs, their livelihoods, and their religious freedom because Anthony Fauci, Joe Biden, and the CDC were wrong. That's just a highlight of the article. It came out 2 days ago, and CDC made those statements 1 week ago.
Good morning, my name is Rose Navarre from Attica. I was up here a couple of weeks ago, again, about, every time but there's a lot of money being plowed into our mental health services. Why aren't people getting better? There has got to be some other, I'm telling you, mental health is an issue. After COVID, after the shootings, the kids, they're a mess. We are in a crisis of our young people. And no one's getting it. All that's being shoved down their throat is fear, fear, fear. With what he was just talking about with COVID, I have a personal experience. My son was in college and he was bullied, and it was bullying. It was calling out, flat out bullying because he wasn't vaccinated. The things they put him through, even after testing negative, they isolated he and this other child who didn't have the vaccine. It's ridiculous. The fear, the shaming, it has got to stop. And if we do not see this, your country is going down. I told you the autism rate is just off the charts. In fact, the CDC had to pull off their comments on their website that says vaccines do not cause autism. They pulled that off because Robert Kennedy Jr. and Del Bigtree, they pushed for that and they won. So things are coming out, but we are in a mental health crisis. But what we're doing, we're shoving all this money in and we keep shoving more money in. Things are not getting better. I personally sent my kids to a small private school. It cost me a lot of money. But my kids, I wanted them to think for themselves. I wanted them to play outside. They played. Nature was a part of the class for science. They did hands-on nature. These A students, this is why I put my kids in the school I did, not that they were all A students, but they're bored. They're bored in what they're learning in school. And then when you hear what Carol's talking about, the books that they're reading in school, they don't want that garbage. They want to explore. They want to be independent thinkers. And that is not how our school systems in the public schools are set up. So everyone needs to think about that. The system, it's always to me the system. I'd like to pull down the whole system because it's not working. It's broken. We are killing our children. I don't have an answer except for we have to do something different in the mental health fields. There's many alternative therapies that can help people They're free. You can teach it, and it's amazing what they do to get rid of some of the emotional tension in these kids. And to know that they're not alone. That's the thing. They feel like they're alone. The social media, the gaming, the kids are more isolated than ever. And now after COVID, they're really isolated. So I want everyone to think creatively. I mean, I know you guys, a lot of you have grandkids. I don't have any grandkids yet, but we are in a crisis and we've got to help our kids. I have a friend who's a nurse, 15 years ago, she said to me, I'm scared. I'm scared who's going to take care of us when we're older because no one's going into nursing for the right reason, which is she and I, we love people. I could care for a stranger as if he were my own. And she said, that's gone. We have got to look at our own values and our own integrity, everyone. And we have to call people out and just say, what did you say? Call them out when they're inappropriate. That's what we have to do. We have to call people to say, what did you say? What are you thinking? We have got to start talking to each other because this country is based upon your youth. And we are losing our youth. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I would note there's personnel committee after. And with that, I'll accept one more motion. Wait,
Oh.
adjourn.
Historically.
Give me one of my.
I have been for,
You want to learn about what we do in mental health? Yeah, start your term.
Interest on subcommittees and all, and that was one of
might
them
be
that
996 for the expenditure, but that's all right.
just don't show up.
No, you're fine.
Restaurant.
It's fine.
We're like.
Okay.
Right.
You know what, I want it to be right going forward. If you can let me know later. I have it right here.
Yeah.
I'm trying, when I do my cut and paste motions, that's you wanna end that? Sure.
I really don't know. Mark was all the COVID or everything else is going on in society.
Okay, so it's 101, 990,
How are you? Yes.
995,